You will not believe what I have gotten my hands on. A full bedroom suite that could use a bit of a glow up. But here's the challenge. I'm not just giving this a glow up. I'm going to transform it into a luxury bedroom set that buyers are going to absolutely love. I'm doing it with the newest trends for 2025, and I'm going to do this fast. I'm going to take you guys along on the journey and show you all of my secret tricks up my sleeve to take this neglected piece of furniture and turn it into high-end showpieces that will triple its original value. So stick around because you are not going to want to miss this flip. Let's get going. So this bedroom set was given to me from a fan. It is a Lane furniture set, and it's about 15 to 18 years old, if I remember correctly. The furniture itself is in really good shape. It doesn't need a lot of fixing. There are some issues with the headboard, but we're gonna get those taken care of. The dresser itself seems to be in really good shape. So I'm gonna get all of this wrapping off of here, and we're gonna figure out just exactly what we're gonna do with this today. Okay, so on this flip, I'm gonna teach you how to figure out if the piece you have is solid wood or not. I'm not gonna be able to tell you what kind of wood this is, most likely. For that kind of information, you're gonna have to watch like my buddy Katie Scott or my dear friend Barry at Mad City Modern. They're really good at that kind of stuff. But I can definitely tell you when it is plastic, veneer, or MDF particle board that you're dealing with, and you can figure this out really easily too, so let me show you. So here's the back of our piece today. And the first thing you're going to want to look at is these two pieces right here. So the very first thing I know is that this is really, sounds plasticky. It is very, very shiny. It's got some sort of coating on it, but I know right away that this is not solid wood. And how I know that is, if this was real wood, which I know it's not, you would see this grain pattern falling over onto this, and the rest of it would keep going. But you can see that this is going in a totally different direction than this on the top. I definitely know that this is some sort of plastic, you guys. So this isn't even solid wood that we're dealing with. This definitely isn't solid wood back here. This is most likely some sort of plasticky or a very, very thin veneer. It would be thinner than my fingernail. And then we've got some sort of particle board back here. So I know people are always amazed and they think Lane is solid wood furniture because it is a really good company and it's built well, but we are not dealing with a solid wood piece of furniture today. So those kind of pieces allow for a really great canvas. So let's flip this. All right, as usual, the first thing we're gonna do is get all of this hardware off of here. I don't particularly care for this, and it's missing one, so I can't replace it with the same stuff anyways. We're gonna definitely update these with something that's a little more modern, a little more in style for the times, and I need to clean this guy. It's really dirty and dusty. It needs a really good clean. It's been sitting in my garage for a little bit. So I have got a bucket of warm water and some Simple Green. We're gonna give this guy a really good scrub. That way, as I'm scrubbing this, I can figure out, is there damage that needs to be fixed, and sort of get more of a firm idea of how I wanna flip this.
FlexiSpot is the sponsor of today's video, and it couldn't have come at a better time. My son is growing up way too fast, and it's time for a serious bedroom refresh. He's outgrowing the little kid look, so we're upgrading to something more sleek and sturdy. Enter the FlexiSpot Japanese joinery bed frame, a solid wood that gives off that high-end vibe, similar to a Thuma, but with a budget-friendly price tag. This thing is a game changer thanks to its mortise and tenon joinery. We had this fully set up in under 10 minutes. I chose the oak bed frame with the headboard, and it's honestly the easiest furniture build I've ever done. And it's rock solid. It supports up to 1,200 pounds, no squeaks, no wobbles. The recessed legs keep it sitting flush against the wall, and the Velcro secured slats means no shifting or creaking. Plus, check out all the storage. 10 inches of underbed clearance makes it perfect for extra blankets, shoes, or whatever else he needs to stash away. This bed totally refreshed his space. It's sleek, sturdy, and seriously stylish. If you're looking for an easy to assemble, high quality bed frame, check out the FlexiSpot Japanese joinery bed.
Be sure to click that link below to experience the FlexiSpot bed frame for yourself. Don't miss out and use my exclusive code that I have linked below for an instant discount. Transform your sleep with comfort and convenience and unmatched value. We love our new FlexiSpot bed frame, and I know that you're going to too. As I pointed out previously, this has a really slick surface on the top, so I'm going to get 150 sanding grit pad here on my Surf Prep sander, and we're just going to rough this up so that my paint is going to adhere nicely. If I just went ahead and painted over the top of this, it's so slick that there's no way that it would adhere and probably just end up being a mess and flaking and peeling off for the next owner, so we really don't want that. So I'll do a really good job giving this whole thing a nice scuff sand. This is day number 2. I'm back out in the garage. We are supposed to have an 80-degree day today in Dallas in the middle of February, so I'll take it. This is my day to mainly get almost all of this done today, depending on how much dry time I'm going to have. So my thought with this dresser, if you would have seen a video maybe 2 or 3 videos ago, I started working on this bedroom set, and I am sort of designing it over this HGTV Sherwin-Williams catalog that I picked up in Lowe's last time I was in there. So for this year, they are showcasing a lot of the greens and the teals, and then of course like the natural tans and the wood looks that are still really in style. So I thought this would be the perfect bedroom set to sort of recreate some of these looks on. So on the nightstands, I brought in the teal. On this one, I think I'm gonna bring in the teal and the wood look. It might be a little ambitious, but what I'm thinking is because this dresser has like 2 parts to it, there's a bottom, then it has a really obvious ledge, and then there's this top part. And I thought, what if we could do sort of that 2-toned look to match what that catalog is showing? And on the bottom part here, we're gonna do that wood grain look, that Pottery Barn look, except I'm not gonna bring in all the graining tools on this, I don't think. So I'm gonna start with my Retique It liquid primer. This has got natural wood grain fibers in it. If you've been on this channel a lot, you've seen me use this a lot. This was really, really trendy last year, and I expect it to be trendy into this year as well. And this has natural wood fibers that are inside of it. So as I apply the layers, you're gonna see that there's texture to this, and it makes it look like it's a real wood grain. So we're gonna apply this on the bottom. I think it's gonna take 2 coats of this to get full coverage. And this has a primer built in, so I'm gonna be able to skip that step, at least on the bottom part of this dresser. I'm going to paint this with the drawers inside because when I close these, they lay flat. So that means I don't have to worry about covering up the edges or anything like that. They sit nice and flat inside of this dresser. I attached some screws on the inside so I can just kind of use these as knobs, and it'll help me get the drawer in and out. So that's just a fun little trick if you're gonna paint your dressers with the drawers inside. You want to be able to get them out without having to use the tool that could possibly scrape them. So this works really well. first coat is dry, so now we'll go in with coat number 2. The 2 coats are on and they are dry. You can see it's not total full coverage, but it doesn't need to be when you put the stain on the top of it. The stain is going to hide all of this and you'll barely see some of this light color showing through. So today I'm going to use a Varathane wood stain. This is a water-based formula and it's in the color Barnwood. So it's a soap and water cleanup, which is really nice, which means all my brushes can be soap and water cleanup as well. And then I'm gonna apply this with 2 different brushes. I've got an angled brush from Retikit that I'm gonna use to put the stain on with. And then I will start to wipe back the stain with the deck brush that you see me use on all my Pottery Barn finishes. This is just a really good wide brush with a lot of compact bristles, and it'll help take off some of the stain as we move along. I've also got a lot of paper towels and rags for cleanup if I need them, but you just take your time and work slowly through this and see what you like and what the finish looks like as you work it into the product. I'm only going to need to do 1 coat of this, and I hope it's showing up as well as it looks in person, but the way that this looks like wood grain so far is just so beautiful. Really happy with the results. Okay, so the trick to this is, I don't know if you can see it on here, but it has that faux wood grain pattern that was already on this dresser, and so I just took everything in the direction of that, and so it looks like this is real wood grain that is on this finish now that we've brought it out with some stains. So really fun technique, and it's not that hard. Just to get a few different brushes, a thick brush that'll really take off a lot of stain at once is the trick to this. And just mess around with it because it's water-based. It has a lot of open time. You're going to be able to play with this a little bit and get exactly the look that you're going for. And you can use a whole gamut of colors on this. It doesn't have to be the one that I chose. Obviously, Varathane and Minwax have a ton of stain colors. So find one that you love and practice this. I think if you have a piece of furniture that's not real wood and you want to create this type of look, it's actually really easy. All right, so I let my stain dry overnight. I was really hoping to have some paint on this yesterday for my warm weather, but the stain took about 12 hours to dry, which I did not factor in. The reason why I needed it to dry all the way is because for this two-tone look, I need to tape off the part that I stained, and I couldn't have that wet, obviously. So this morning I'm out here with some frog tape. Frog tape is really great for pieces that you've got painted and you need to differentiate between your next step. Oops, because this isn't supposed to stick to the paint or the stain as far as like when you rip it off, your paint is not supposed to come off. So I always hold my breath when I do this part because I don't want to have to redo the finish that I just did, but this should help separate our 2 layers. So I'll get this whole part taped off and then we can start painting the top of this. This top part here, because I've busted through some of the coating on this, I'm gonna go ahead and prime it. I don't totally trust that this won't go through my paint because it is a darker tannin, it's a darker looking wood. So I'm using my 2-time Rust-Oleum flat primer. It's in gray because again, I'm using a darker color on the top of this. And if I use white, sometimes I have to do more than 2 or 3 coats. So I'm hoping to just be able to stick with 2 coats of the paint because I've got the gray primer here. So we will get all of our PPE on. It's really good to have the heavy duty respirator mask when you're using these type of products. They're really strong. I'm in my garage, which is fully ventilated. This is not something that you want to do in your house, and it gets all over the place. So all my other furniture that's behind me, it's fully covered before I apply this. Yes, I know that's how messy it is, but it does a really good job at blocking stains. So I don't have to worry about who this furniture goes to. I know that this paint is going to last for a really long time because we've done all the prep work. So let's get this on. I gave the primer about an hour and a half to dry, and I came out and did a light scuff sand with about a 300 grit sanding sponge just to help knock down any bits and bumps and make sure that everything looks nice and smooth when we apply the paint. So if you watch the nightstand makeover, and I will be sure to link that one down below if you haven't checked that one out yet. So the whole set is going to be sort of matchy-matchy, and then have some wood trim elements mixed in. And then at the end of all of this, I'm gonna see if I can sell it as a set, or if I have to piecemeal this whole thing out like I normally had to in the past. Like sets just haven't sold well for me, and I haven't tried one in a really long time. So when I got this one, I thought, let's try it again, especially since I saw that picture in the HGTV catalog, and I thought, maybe this is my time to try this again and see what happens. So you're gonna have to keep watching, subscribe to this channel so you see the updates. And then eventually we're gonna flip that headboard and we're gonna see if this will all sell as a set or if everybody wants it all torn apart. So we'll see what happens there. But for the top half of this, I'm going to use my Emerald Urethane Trim Collection. It's in a satin finish, and it's in the color Roycroft Bronze Green. So this is one of the trending colors for 2025, which is why I did the nightstands in that. It's like this really rich gray, kind of dark academia looking. So a lot of colors, a lot of homes are like using this in to color drench bathrooms and things like that. So it's kind of perfect for today's flip. Let's get this loaded into my gravity-fed HVLP sprayer and see what this turns out like. I'm excited to see. All right, so come take a little trip with me while I'm setting this up. You guys asked me a lot of questions about my sprayer, what I use, why I use it. So the one that I'm gonna use today is an HVLP sprayer. You can get them on Amazon. I'll link the one that I use below. They also carry them at Harbor Freight. Sometimes they have really good sales on them. I like to keep 2 of them in my toolbox because I use one for paint and one for poly. And then once they start getting like really kind of old and spraying funky, then I'll turn that into my primer spray gun if I need to run primer through a sprayer. So in order to use the one that I'm going to use today, you do have to have a compressor. So I have a 20-gallon compressor. You're in the messy side of my garage. So my compressor lives in its own little box here. And the reason that it's in this box is because it's soundproof, because I've got neighbors in my backyard and they don't want to listen to me banging around all day in my garage. So I soundproofed this guy a few years back now. And when I open up this compartment, this is where he lives. So I'll use it for a little bit and then I'll open the door and let it breathe so that it can air out. But it is open in the back, so it has some breathing room. So I've got this guy all set, and the gauges are all set to what I know I need to set it to spray paint. And then once I'm ready to go, I close the door and lock it, and then it'll turn on and it'll make a lot of noise. I won't do it right now since I'm taping. But if you do not have this big compressor, the last time I checked, these compressors were around $250 to $300. I don't know what they are now, but that's how much the initial investment for that was. So if you don't want to go all in on something that expensive, you can also get this Wagner sprayer. Now this is just one part of this, and you've probably watched me use this before on my channel if you've been here for a while. But they sell these at Lowe's, and they come in a kit with 2 different sizes. The larger size is for oil-based and if you're like staining a fence, and then the smaller size is for paint like I use or furniture paint. So it comes with 2 different options, and everything that you need to spray is in that kit. I honestly think it works just as well as my big heavy-duty sprayer. So I will link this one down below too if you're interested. If you don't have this whole setup already and you want to spray your paint, this is going to be your best bet, and it's really economical. So I'll leave all those links below if you're interested, and hopefully that answered some questions that you guys asked me a lot. Let's start spraying. All right, round number 1 is completely dry. Getting ready to put on round number 2, and from the looks of it, this should only require 1 more coat of paint. So I'm gonna get this on and then go inside and get warm. It is chilly today. Almost forgot, I need to peel off this tape while the paint is still wet. It is best to get this painter's tape off while the paint is wet on the top. So I'm holding my breath while I get this plastic off of here. For the hardware on these, you probably guessed it, we're going back to these brushed bronze knobs. I've ordered so many of these from Amazon last year, and every time I go to order them this year, they still say that they're trending. So no surprise, we're gonna go back to what's really selling right now in our area. And I've linked everything down below again for you to check out. So if you want to know what these look like and how much they are on Amazon, I've got them linked below for you. So let's get these guys on. All right, so now that we've done the big dresser reveal, let me give you the pros and cons and my thoughts about this dresser. I like it, but I don't love it, and there's a few reasons why. So some of the reasons that I really love it is I love the design, I love the 2 layers that it has, and I love the 2-tone concept. I can see it in my mind, but it didn't turn out how I wanted it to. Some of the other things that I love is I love that I got to use this Roycroft bronze green again, as it is trending. It'll definitely sell well in my area. And of course, the brushed bronze knobs, they're always a hit. Some of the cons are, even though I love this color, I really enjoyed that catalog that I showed you originally with the HGTV, and in there they used a warmer color palette, and because I had already painted the matching nightstands in this cooler tone, it meant that I had to use a corresponding stain that was also in the cooler tone families. So in the pictures they had the warmer tones, and I had to go with more of these grays to match the body of the nightstands that I had already painted, so it didn't end up looking along exactly how I wanted it. I don't mind the barnwood so much, but I'm a little afraid because it is in the gray family that it may not be as much of a hit. One of the other things that totally went sideways on me is that stain that I chose. I had never worked with that Varathane water-based stain before, and for some reason on the drawers, when it dried overnight, it turned a different color than what was on the body. So I am gonna have to redo those drawers, and what I'm going to use is my tried and true finish that I always use for my Pottery Barn looks, the stain that I use from Minwax that's for cabinets. I'm gonna go back in and do that. I have to still do that bed frame, and I'm going to do a little bit of this two-toned look on that. So when I redo that, I'm gonna redo the bottom of this dresser so it ends up looking cohesive and not two different colors. Definitely can't keep it that way. And it also had some bubbles show up in it, and I'm not sure what that was about at all. So I'm not gonna use that product again. I will link what I really like down below, and I'm not gonna link that water-based one because I can't put my stamp on that one. It was not my favorite. But all in all, it's at least starting to look how I want it to look. It's going to be really cool in the end, and I can see it coming together as a bedroom set. But sometimes you have hiccups, and I had one on this guy. But I'll show it to you in the end when everything is tied together. I'll do a little recap on this dresser so you can see what it looks like after I do those touch-ups. Thank you so much for tuning in, you guys. Thanks again to my sponsor, FlexiSpot. They have been a sponsor of mine basically since I started this channel, and I couldn't be more thrilled to partner with them again. I have linked some of my most favorite dresser flips to this little video here. You definitely want to check those out if you're new to my channel, if you haven't seen them already. And be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already so you can see how the rest of this dresser set comes together. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Lemons to Lemonade Furniture.